I found out my husband was cheating with the intern, so I delivered his bags to their office. The air in that boardroom? Thick enough to choke on. You could practically hear the tension buzzing off the walls as 24 suits stared me down. Me, standing in the doorway like I own the place, dragging 2 high-end suitcases behind me. And right beside me, little Miss Homewrecker herself, Harper. 23, intern, and the girl who'd been sleeping with my husband for the better part of 7 damn months. I hadn't planned to crash the company's sacred quarterly budget meeting, but Karma? She's got impeccable timing and a savage sense of humor. Special delivery for Harper Jennings, I said, calm as hell on the outside, even though my heart was doing backflips in my chest. I believe these are yours now. And I'll never forget it, the moment her face turned ghost white. That overly polished, airbrushed to death face I'd smiled at during the Christmas party, the same face that had beamed at me while she was probably sexting my husband underneath the damn dinner table. I saw it, clear as day. Her freshly done manicure, French tips, of course, because basic never goes out of style, started to twitch. She clutched the edge of the conference table like it might save her from what was coming next. Spoiler, it wouldn't. And my husband? Nowhere to be found. Obviously. Thursday afternoons were for client meetings, right? Except those meetings had been going down 2 blocks away. At the Marriott, room always charged to his company card. Because why not be trash? And leave a paper trail? I'm sorry, who exactly are you? The CEO finally asked, his fancy pen frozen mid-scribble, like even he couldn't believe what he was witnessing. I gave him a smile. Not the teary, heartbroken wife smile they probably expected. Nah, this one was sharp, cold. The kind of smile a woman wears when she's done being lied to. I'm Cassidy Monroe, I said smoothly, Daniel's wife, or soon-to-be ex. I rolled the suitcases in like I was delivering room service, right up front, right to her. Figured since Harper's been enjoying my husband, I said, loud enough for the suits in the back to hear, she might as well enjoy his stuff, too. Someone near the window choked out a barely whiskered, "Oh my God." Yeah, that's about right. But I didn't flinch, didn't blink. I kept my eyes locked on Harper, watched the color drain from her face, watched her world crumble in 4K, right there in front of the people she was trying so hard to impress. Her shame? That wasn't even the highlight. The real show was the flicker of panic when it finally hit her that her master plan, the one where she seduced her way into a corner office and a ring, was going up in flames. Publicly, spectacularly. And me? I wasn't always this version of Cassidy. The Cassidy from 3 weeks ago? She would have folded, would have sobbed in the bathroom and blamed herself. But that woman? She died the night I saw the messages. It was pathetically cliché, one of those dumb, can't-make-this-up moments. His iPad lit up while he was in the shower. Just a random notification. Casual as hell. Can't wait to taste you again tomorrow. I just stared at it, sat there frozen, hoping, no, begging for it to mean something else. But it didn't. It meant exactly what it said. This wasn't supposed to happen to us. We had it all. A sleek condo by the marina, Sunday brunches at the country club, baby plans once his promotion hit. 15 years together, 5 married, 3 years of painful, lonely fertility treatments, while he was working late. God, the math of betrayal is always so damn clean in hindsight. Mrs. Monroe, I think there's been some kind of misunderstanding. One of the executives piped up, his voice already unsure. I turned slowly, looked him dead in the eye. Oh, I understand perfectly. The HR director looked like she was about to stand, maybe to step in, maybe to save face, but I shut that down with one raised hand. There's no misunderstanding, I said flatly. I brought receipts, literally. I patted my handbag, the one packed with printouts of screenshots, hotel invoices, and GPS logs straight from the navigation system in Daniel's car. His affair wasn't just sloppy, it was fully documented. I just thought it was only fair that Harper gets everything that comes with screwing my husband. I unzipped the first suitcase with a slow, deliberate motion. Right on top, his precious gray cashmere sweater, the one I gave him last Christmas, back when I still believed we were building something real. I held it up, then tossed it her way. She caught it on reflex, but her face said it all, like I'd thrown acid instead of wool. He likes soft scratches on his back while you're wearing that, I said, my voice ice. Not your nails. He's paranoid about red marks showing up at the gym. A snort of laughter broke the silence. Might have been the CFO. I didn't care. I wasn't done. I reached in again and pulled out his custom monogrammed shaving kit, the fancy one with that overpriced Swiss cream he swears by. He needs this before bed or he turns into a diva. I assume you already know that. You've probably seen him pout when he forgets it, right? I slid it across the glossy table. It skidded to a stop inches from her perfectly manicured fingers. Oh, and he's allergic to shellfish, full-blown hives. But you've probably figured that out between all your cozy seafood dinners while I was, sitting by my mom's hospital bed, watching her die. The air in the room dropped about 10 degrees. Harper's throat twitched as she swallowed. Her eyes darted around, silently begging someone, anyone, to save her. But no one moved. No one spoke. "Cassidy," she finally whispered. "Oh, we're doing first names now?" I tilted my head, like I was genuinely amused. "That's sweet." Then I gave her a look she'll never forget. "You know what's hilarious?" I said. "All those nights he told me he was mentoring you. She's got real potential," he'd say. I was proud. I thought, wow, he's finally lifting women up instead of stepping over them. I laughed, but it wasn't joy. It was the sound you make when your reality shatters and all you have left is dust and disbelief. "The second suitcase has the rest," I went on. "His meds, he's got blood pressure issues, so maybe keep an eye on that during all your little exciting moments. And his watches. The Rolex was an anniversary gift from me." I stepped back from the bags, smoothed down my blazer, the tailored one I wore to client pitches, the one that made me feel like I still had control, even when everything around me was collapsing. "Oh, and just a heads up," I added as I turned to leave. "I sent your compliance team copies of every expense report he used to fund your Marriott adventures." Then I walked out. Not fast, not flustered, just finished. The Marriott stays, the gift bags, the cozy, overpriced dinners, all of it paid for with the corporate card. I'm pretty sure that breaks, half a dozen company policies? Harper's mascara had officially given up. Black streaks ran down her cheeks like ink on ruined paper. Good. Let her cry. Let her feel just an ounce of what it felt like when I realized the man I spent my entire adult life loving had been living a whole other life behind my back. You can't just. This is a professional environment, she managed to stammer. And so was my marriage, I shot back, my voice sharp and cold. Or at least it pretended to be. But Daniel, he decided to invest in a different portfolio. So now he gets to live with the returns. I turned to leave. And for a second, just a second, the weight of what I'd done slammed into me like a truck. My knees nearly gave out. But 15 years with Daniel had taught me one unshakable rule: never show weakness. Not in public, not to them. So I pulled myself upright, squared my shoulders, and walked. Not fast, not shaky, just straight out the glass door, head high. Behind me, it shut with a solid, satisfying click, sealing Harper in there, alone, with her tears, her shame, and the pieces of the man I thought I knew. It wasn't until I got to my car, down in the echoing parking garage, that the dam finally cracked. I collapsed forward, forehead pressed against the steering wheel, and the sobs came up like they'd been waiting all day. Deep, ugly ones, the kind that rip through you like aftershocks, pulling memories and grief out of your chest one jagged piece at a time. This wasn't the story I thought I'd signed up for. When I met Daniel, I was in my last year of law school. He was the TA who actually stayed after hours to help students review for the bar. Smart, patient, warm in that charming boy-next-door way. He made everyone feel like they mattered, and somehow he made me feel like I was the only one who did. He proposed on the ferry to Bainbridge Island, down on one knee, Seattle skyline sparkling behind him like a scene from a damn movie. "You're the only certainty in my life," he'd said, sliding the ring on my finger. The diamond caught the last light of sunset, and I believed him. God, did I believe him. We built our life piece by piece, like architects drafting a dream home. Every step mutual. Which offers to accept? Which waterfront condo to buy? When to start trying for kids? Or so I thought. First IVF cycle failed. "It's okay," he whispered, holding me close. "We've got time." Second one? Failed. Third? Same. Each time, I blamed my body, thought I was the broken one. Each time, he swore we were in it together. But now I know he was in a different kind of together, a private, secret, deceit-soaked kind. And near as I can tell, it all started right after Harper showed up, the new intern in marketing. Just another bright-eyed, eager-to-please 20-something trying to find her place in the company. She sure found it, right in my husband's bed. She was driven, fresh-faced, and 15 years younger than me, the golden girl. I first met Harper at the company picnic last July. She seemed harmless, wide-eyed, eager, polite, sweet even. I actually told Daniel to keep an eye on her, to mentor her, like others had done for him when he was starting out. Mentor her. Jesus, the irony nearly choked me. I let out a sound in that car, half laugh, half cry, something broken and raw that bounced off the empty interior like a cruel joke. The signs had always been there. I just didn't want to see them. The late nights that multiplied out of nowhere, the urgent weekend calls that dragged him into the office at weird hours. The sudden obsession with fitness, like he was training for a fight. And the new cologne I never bought him. The way he guarded his phone, like it held nuclear codes. But I was too busy patching the seams of our life to notice the whole damn thing was unraveling behind my back. My caseload at the firm was brutal. On top of that, I was jacked up on hormones from fertility treatments, riding a roller coaster of hope and heartbreak every month. I was also caring for my mom, watching her fade away day by day from cancer. And still, somehow, I kept our social life afloat, remembered birthdays, paid bills, showed up for charity galas with a smile glued to my face. I was holding up the whole damn house, and he was busy lighting matches in the basement. 2 weeks ago, my mom finally passed. After months of hospice care, machines humming like white noise in the background of our lives, the house had fallen eerily quiet. No nurses, no oxygen tanks, just silence. Daniel had been supportive, I guess, if that means swinging by for family dinners once in a while and asking how she was, right before pivoting the conversation back to quarterly projections or some VP's promotion. The night after her funeral, I needed him, needed my husband to hold me, to just be there in the hollow wreckage of my grief. Instead, he grabbed his laptop and mumbled something about a last-minute meeting with a client. He walked out the door, and while he was gone, I picked up his iPad. Out of habit, out of loneliness, out of something I still don't understand. And there they were, the messages. Like fate decided, if it was going to rip my heart out, it might as well take everything else with it. I scrolled and scrolled. Pages of filth, flirty texts, hotel meetups, stupid little nicknames. Every message, a dagger to the ribs. But the worst, the things he said about me. How I was cold, emotionally unavailable, obsessed with getting pregnant. He told her our marriage had been dead for years, while I was sticking needles into my stomach every night, bruising myself for a child we'd never have. While I was riding hormone crashes like a lunatic and crying alone in bathroom stalls at work. While I was holding my mother's hand as she slipped away, begging her not to leave me. While I was keeping our life running, alone. And the whole time, he was playing house with her, living some twisted fantasy while I drowned in reality. Those messages weren't just proof of the affair. They were receipts. Receipts for every single moment he looked me in the eye and lied. Every I love you that was just noise. Every future we planned together that never actually existed. You're the only woman who truly gets me. That's what he wrote her. And she replied with, "When can I have you all to myself?" He told her, "Soon. I'm just waiting for the right time." The right time, as if there's ever a right time to blow up someone's entire life. Of course I confronted him, that same night, the minute he walked through the door, reeking of her perfume and that generic hotel soap. I was already sitting in the dark, iPad glowing in my lap, lit up with every disgusting word they'd exchanged. And his face? I'll never forget it. Not panic, not guilt, not even shame. Just annoyance, like I'd inconvenienced him. "It's not what you think," he blurted out, because apparently he'd memorized the script every scumbag cheater in history recites on autopilot. "Oh, really?" I said. "Because what I think is that you've been screwing your intern while I was wiping my mother's mouth and injecting hormones to get pregnant with your child. Please, enlighten me. Tell me how this isn't exactly what I think." He switched tactics immediately, just like that. "You haven't been present in this marriage for years, Cass," he snapped. "What did you expect?" And that's when I knew it was truly over. Not just the marriage, not just the trust, but everything. Not because he cheated, but because he tried to pin his betrayal on me. As if my grief, my ambition, my desperate fight to build a family had somehow driven him to unzip his pants for a 23-year-old who didn't even know how to work the office printer 6 months ago. "Get out," I told him. Quiet, steady, like the calm before a bomb goes off. He crossed his arms. "This is my house, too." "Oh, you mean my house?" I asked. The one my law degree pays the mortgage on? The one that's in my name because your credit was trashed when we bought it? That house? He slept in the guest room that night, and the night after, and the one after that. For days, we moved through the same space like ghosts. No fights, no yelling, just this frozen silence between two people who once shared everything and now couldn't even make eye contact. 3 days later, over cold eggs and burned toast, he finally broke. "We need to talk about this like adults," he said, casually buttering his toast like we were discussing taxes. "People make mistakes. Marriages survive affairs all the time." I looked at him, really looked at him, sitting there in a hoodie he probably wore to cheat on me, acting like this was just a minor hiccup, like it wasn't the death of 15 years of my life. And all I could think was, who the hell are you? And why did I ever love you? This man, this stranger, who could gut me so effortlessly, who could rewrite our entire story behind my back, actually thought I owed him forgiveness, like it was just part of the deal, like betrayal came with a built-in reset button. "You're right," I said, calm as a lake right before a storm. "We do need to talk rationally." He looked relieved. Idiot. "I've already contacted a divorce attorney. You'll be hearing from them soon." I paused, just long enough to watch the blood drain from his face. "In the meantime," I continued, "I need you out of the house by tomorrow." His jaw dropped like he'd been slapped. "You can't be serious. Where the hell am I supposed to go?" I gave him a shrug, so casual it probably burned. "I don't know, Daniel. Maybe Harper's got space in that shoebox studio she calls an apartment, or maybe one of the other women you've been screwing can take you in." Boom. There it was. That flicker in his eyes? Panic. Because I'd hit something real. There had been others. Of course there had. "Cassidy, be reasonable." "I am being reasonable," I said, standing tall. "In fact, I'll help you pack." That night, he slinked back into the guest room like a dog with its tail tucked. And I sat on our bed, alone, laptop open, heart numb, brain locked into strategy mode. If there's one thing 15 years in corporate law has taught me, it's how to plan your way through hell with a steady hand. Step 1, secure the assets. I drained our joint accounts, not recklessly, just what was mine. Fair is fair. I wasn't going to rob him, but I sure as hell wasn't going to let him leave me exposed either. Step 2, lock it down. I changed the passwords to every shared account. Netflix, utilities, grocery delivery, everything. Even the damn Spotify playlist he always hogged. Then I called the credit card companies and had him removed as an authorized user. Step 3, gather ammo. I already had their messages saved, but if I was going to do this right, I needed more. Solid documentation, patterns, receipts, timelines. So I called in a favor. Janet, ex-detective, now a PI with a sharp tongue and zero tolerance for cheaters. I'd met her through a corporate compliance case last year, the kind of woman who could smell bullshit 3 states away. We met over coffee. "I don't need you to prove he's cheating," I told her, stirring my drink without tasting it. "I already know that." I looked her straight in the eye. "I need you to prove he's been funding his double life with my money." The next morning, over black coffee and cold fury, I looked Janet in the eye. I need proof he's been using company assets to bankroll this whole side piece operation. She gave me a slow grin and raised an eyebrow. "Ah, going for the professional jugular. I respect it." "He made it a work matter," I replied flatly, "the second he started banging his subordinate. I'm just following the chain of consequences." 48 hours later, Janet delivered like the absolute weapon she is. A full, neatly organized report that could burn down a boardroom. There it was. Hotel charges billed to his corporate card. High-end dinners labeled as client meetings, except there were no clients, just him and Harper. Logs showing repeated use of the company car, aligning perfectly with their little secret getaways. And the kicker? A company-sponsored tech conference in Chicago last month where Harper magically showed up on the attendee list despite not being assigned to any relevant project. It was all there, plain as day. Violations of the ethics code, the fraternization policy, and yes, the very same policy Daniel had proudly helped write as part of the executive committee. The hypocrisy? Olympic level. But I wasn't done. While he was busy playing Executive of the Year at work, I went through his home office, inch by inch. In the back of the desk drawer, hidden under a pile of receipts and stale Post-its, was a velvet jewelry box. Small, stupidly expensive looking. Inside, a pair of diamond earrings. Elegant, delicate. I'd never seen them before. Tucked beneath was the receipt. $3,800, dated 2 weeks ago. My birthday? Months away. Our anniversary? Already come and gone, with zero fanfare from him. No gift, no earrings. These weren't for me. They were for her. Bought while I was spoon-feeding my dying mother morphine and barely holding myself together. I dropped them into my jewelry box. She wasn't getting them, not while I was still breathing. But the real jackpot was sitting just next to the box, a silver thumb drive, unlabeled. I plugged it into my laptop, not even knowing what I was hoping for. What I found? Gold. Company documents, confidential financial forecasts, internal personnel files, strategy presentations for upcoming mergers. Stuff no one should have access to outside the secured server, especially not in an industry with federal compliance breathing down its neck. I copied everything to my own drive, then slipped his back into place, like nothing had happened. Not to burn him. Not yet. Insurance, in case he got cute during the divorce. By day 3, I had enough evidence to incinerate both our marriage and his entire career, but I wasn't gunning for total annihilation. Not yet. My first move? Make them socially radioactive. Let them both squirm in the wreckage of their choices. Let the truth catch fire in the exact circles they thought they'd fooled. The humiliation had to be public, loud, messy, permanent. I wanted whispers in the break room, side eyes in the elevators, that lingering, brutal kind of office gossip that clings to people for years, long after I was out of their lives for good. That's when the suitcase idea fully clicked into place. I waited until the perfect storm. Thursday, the quarterly budget meeting. Everyone who mattered would be there. Execs, department heads, decision makers. Everyone except Daniel, of course. Thursdays were sacred for him, his client meetings at the Marriott. Funny how consistent cheaters get when they think they're smart. But Melissa? She'd be there. I made damn sure of that. The day before, I called the CEO's assistant, pretending to be Daniel's assistant. Voice firm, professional, confident. Melissa needs to present that marketing data tomorrow. She's prepped something crucial for the meeting. Oh, the assistant replied, confused. I thought Daniel was presenting that section. He has a scheduling conflict, I said, smooth as silk. He asked specifically for Melissa to step in. Hook, line, sucker. She was officially added to the schedule, and I imagined Daniel sitting in his usual hotel room, checking his phone every 5 minutes, wondering where she was, wondering why she wasn't answering, slowly realizing something was off. Good. The morning of, I woke up calm. Too calm. That eerie kind of calm, right before something explodes. I took my time getting ready. My most expensive suit, flawless makeup, hair done in that boardroom perfect blowout. If I was going to burn it all down, I'd damn well look like a woman no one could pity. I packed the suitcases like I was building an exhibit, each item deliberate. His Rolex collection, the autographed baseball he worshipped like a relic, his tailored suits, that $400 bottle of scotch he only opened when trying to impress people. Everything folded with care, polished, precise. Not a single item thrown in anger. This wasn't vengeance. It was presentation. As I zipped the last suitcase shut, a strange wave of clarity rolled over me. For the first time since discovering the affair, I wasn't just surviving. I was choosing. I was steering. I stood in front of the mirror and practiced what I'd say. No trembling voice, no mascara tears, none of that scorned wife meltdown nonsense. I was going to be composed, surgical, the kind of cold that cuts deeper than any scream ever could. On the drive to his office, I ran through every scenario. What if security stopped me? What if Melissa skipped the meeting? What if Daniel, by some miracle, actually showed up? But deep down, I knew none of that would happen. Because people like Daniel and Harper, they never see the consequences coming. They think they're invincible, until they're not. They never expect it. People like Daniel and Harper, they bank on silence, on politeness, on everyone else being too uncomfortable to call out the rot. They lean hard on the social contract, assuming nobody will make a scene, that people will look the other way to keep things civil. I was done being civil. I pulled into the visitor lot at 2:45 p.m. sharp, right when the quarterly budget meeting would be in full swing. Checked my lipstick in the mirror. Perfect. War paint locked in. I popped the trunk and grabbed the suitcases. His suitcases. The same designer luggage he loved to brag about on business trips. The same ones that had probably sat in hotel closets during half his betrayals. As I walked toward the entrance, the building felt smaller than I remembered. Familiar, like muscle memory. The security guard at the front desk gave me a friendly smile. "Mrs. Monroe, long time no see. Is Daniel expecting you?" I returned the smile, warm and casual. "It's a surprise, just dropping off some essentials for his trip tomorrow." He waved me through like nothing was off, like I wasn't a walking hand grenade with perfect posture. Too easy. In the elevator, a young guy offered to help with the luggage. "Thanks," I said, "but I need to carry this myself." He smiled politely. He had no idea the weight I'd already been hauling for weeks. Emotional wreckage doesn't come with wheels. When I stepped onto the executive floor, the silence was clinical. Air conditioning humming low, voices murmuring from the boardroom down the hall. I moved like a ghost, wheeling the bags behind me. Their soft shh against the carpet, sounding almost ceremonial. I stopped, right outside the boardroom. Through the glass walls, I could see them all. CEO at the helm, a dozen VPs and senior staff flanking him. Then, halfway down the right side, Harper. Standing, presenting, gesturing confidently at a projection screen like she owned the damn place. This was her big moment. I took a deep breath, straightened my back, and opened the door. Time froze. You could practically hear the static in the air as I rolled those 2 designer suitcases into the room like a silent countdown. Eyes flicked toward me, some confused, some curious. One, Harper's, shifting through disbelief, then dread, then full-body panic in under 2 seconds. Her jaw twitched, her hands stiffened, her voice faltered. It was perfect. Then I began. One by one, I opened his suitcase and tossed his prized possessions to her. Calm, composed, unbothered. "His favorite cologne," I said, tossing the bottle. "You must recognize it. It was all over you at the Christmas party." The Rolex? Anniversary gift. Guess he didn't tell you. Each item landed like a tiny explosion. At first, the room was stone still. Then came the awkward glances, the uncomfortable fidgeting, and then, slowly, enthrallment. The kind of collective attention you only get in train wrecks and scandals. By the time I held up his blood pressure meds and deadpanned, "You'll want to keep these nearby during your next workout," someone actually snorted behind their hand. Harper had her phone under the table, thumbs flying, panic mode. I could picture Daniel sitting alone at their usual hotel suite, glancing at his phone and seeing, "She's here. She knows. She's telling everyone." I tilted my head, catching her mid-text. "Your phone seems very active, Harper," I said smoothly, pausing my inventory. "Is Daniel wondering where you are? Feel free to let him know. You can even tell him I said hi." Her face went scarlet. She looked like she might be sick. "This is completely unprofessional," she finally choked out. I smiled cold. "So was screwing your married boss." She hissed it like a threat. "Unprofessional." I repeated the word back to her slowly, tasting it like fine wine. "Unprofessional. Right. You mean like sleeping with your married boss? Like putting your little love nest on the company dime? That flavor of unprofessional?" That shut her up. Across the room, Richard Hartman, the CEO himself, finally found his voice. His tone was stiff, corporate. "Mrs. Monroe, while I understand you're going through something personal—" "Oh, this stopped being just personal," I cut in, reaching into my handbag, "the moment they started billing their Marriott romps to the company's Amex." I slid a folder across the table toward him. No theatrics, just facts. The kind that ruin careers. "Page 3, I said coolly, "has a detailed list of corporate policy violations. Page 7 includes the screenshots where Daniel, your senior executive, promised Harper here a promotion in exchange for continuing their relationship." I let that hang. "I believe that qualifies as quid pro quo sexual harassment under your own HR guidelines, Richard." The blood drained from his face as he flipped through the papers. What started as polite discomfort shifted fast, straight into corporate crisis mode. He wasn't just shocked anymore. He was furious. Next to him, the HR director leaned in, her jaw tightening with every page she read. Her eyes narrowed at Harper. "Miss Jennings," Richard said, his voice suddenly razor-sharp, "is this accurate?" Harper opened her mouth, then closed it, tried again. Nothing came out. "It's not," she finally stammered, but her voice cracked mid-sentence. "I'll take that as a yes," Richard said flatly. Then he turned to the HR director. "Janet, we need to address this immediately." "Already on it," Janet said briskly, rising from her chair. "Miss Jennings, come with me, now." Harper didn't move. She just sat there, paralyzed, clinging to Daniel's cashmere sweater like it could somehow protect her from the fallout. Her fingers were white-knuckled around it, and for a second, I almost pitied her. Almost. "I didn't know," she finally blurted, eyes wide and wet, staring at me like I was the one who owed her an explanation. "He told me. He said you were separated." I tilted my head slightly. Cool, detached. "And you just believed that? No questions? No wedding ring? No divorce papers? No pause when he snuck out after midnight like a teenager with a curfew?" She blinked. "You wanted the fantasy," I said. "You got it. Now live with the reality." The room dropped into silence again, one of those heavy, loaded silences where no one breathes too loud. Every pair of eyes was locked on me, waiting to see how I'd respond. I didn't flinch. I just smiled, slow and sharp. "Separated," I said, almost to myself. Interesting timing for that. considering I was injecting hormones for our fertility treatments and holding my mother's hand as she died. Harper's face collapsed. The tears finally broke through her mascara, streaking black down her cheeks. "He said you two weren't intimate anymore," she whispered. "That you were obsessed with work. That you didn't love him. Not like I did." I nodded once. Not a reaction, just acknowledgement. "And you believed him?" I said softly. Not a question, a fact. You believed him when he told you you were different? That this wasn't like the others? That he'd never felt this way before? That he was going to leave me for you? A single tear fell from her eye, smudging the clean, curated look she'd worn into that room. For a split second, I felt something close to pity. Almost. "Let me save you the heartbreak, Harper," I said, voice like glass. "I'm his third wife." That landed like a gut punch. The first two? They also thought they were special, thought they were the one, until they realized they were just one of many. I stepped closer, lowering my voice just enough to sting. "It's not a grand romance, sweetheart. It's a pattern." That's when my phone buzzed in my pocket. Of course, Daniel. I pulled it out, glanced at the screen, and smiled like I'd been waiting for this moment all day. "Well," I said, holding it up for the room to see, "speak of the devil." I tapped the speaker icon and answered. "Alex, where the hell is Harper?" Daniel's voice came through, agitated, impatient. "We were supposed to meet over an hour ago. She's not picking up." The boardroom was dead quiet. You could have heard a pin drop, or the exact moment his life imploded. You could have heard a pin drop. Every exec in the room leaned in, barely breathing, not even pretending they weren't eavesdropping. I smiled into the phone. "Hello, Daniel. I'm afraid Harper can't come to the phone right now. She's currently in a meeting with your entire executive team." I paused for effect. "And me. We're having a fascinating conversation about corporate ethics." Silence. Just dead air on his end. Then, "What have you done?" His voice was low now, menacing, like a man who just realized the hole he's standing in was dug by his own hands. I stayed ice cold. "Oh, nothing drastic. I just delivered your belongings to your girlfriend, right here in front of all your colleagues. And I shared that little side project you've been working on. You know, the one that shows exactly how company money's been footing the bill for your midlife meltdown." "You had no right," he hissed. "Actually," I said, smile in my voice now, "as a corporate attorney who specializes in ethics violations, I had every right. As your wife, I had every right. And as a human being with even an ounce of self-respect," I leaned forward slightly, eyes locked on Harper, "I had all the damn right in the world." He went quiet for a beat. Then came the threat. "This is going to cost you in the divorce." I actually laughed, a real, unbothered laugh. "Oh, Daniel, honey," I said sweetly, "I'm the one with the prenup protecting my assets. I'm the one holding evidence of infidelity and financial misconduct. I'm the one who still has a career." I let that sink in. "So, please, enlighten me. Tell me again what this is going to cost me." That's when Richard, the CEO, cleared his throat. "Daniel, this is Richard. I suggest you come to my office immediately." Another beat of silence. Then the line went dead. I slid my phone back into my pocket and looked up. 24 faces stared back, some stunned, some impressed, some just trying to process the PR disaster unraveling in real time. Harper sat slumped in her chair, mascara smudged, sweater wrinkled, hands limp in her lap. Janet stood nearby, arms crossed, waiting to escort her to HR. I exhaled slowly and smiled. Well, I said cheerfully, I believe my delivery is complete. Thank you all for your attention, and I apologize for the brief interruption to your meeting. I turned to leave. Mrs. Monroe, Richard called out. I paused and glanced back. This company owes you an apology, he said, his voice firm, serious. What happened here was unacceptable, and we'll address it accordingly. I gave him a nod, just a small one. Then I walked out, heels clicking like gunshots on marble, knowing full well I had just burned the house he built. And I didn't even break a sweat. I gave Richard a single nod. Not in gratitude, not in agreement, just acknowledgement. You might want to revisit your ethics training, I said coolly. Seems like there are a few glaring blind spots. And with that, I turned and walked out. Left Daniel's bags sitting right where they belonged, among the wreckage of his lies. I wasn't carrying his baggage anymore, figuratively or otherwise. In the elevator, my phone buzzed. I braced for another call from him, but it wasn't Daniel this time. It was my divorce attorney. It's done, I texted her, fingers steady now. Exactly as we planned. Perfect, she replied. This will make the settlement negotiations much easier. By the time I reached the parking garage, the adrenaline was fading fast. My hands trembled as I slid the key into the ignition. The weight of what I'd just done crashed over me like a second wave. But I didn't feel broken. I felt free. I had looked them both in the eye. I hadn't screamed, hadn't cried, hadn't collapsed into the neat little box of the broken wife. I faced them down and made sure they felt it. I glanced at my reflection in the rearview mirror. Same face, same lipstick, same sharp suit. But something in my eyes had shifted, like I'd finally stepped into my real self. Like I'd peeled off a version of me I'd been wearing for way too long. Then my phone buzzed again. A text from an unknown number. How could you humiliate me like that? You've ruined everything. M. I stared at it for maybe a second, then hit delete. No response, no reaction, no space left in my life for people who dug their own graves and blamed me for the dirt. Instead, I drove to Seabourn Park, the same spot where Daniel had gotten down on one knee years ago. I sat on the same bench, faced the same endless stretch of ocean. The waves crashed hard, pulled back, then returned again and again. Unstoppable. Just like me. 1 year later, morning light streamed through the windows of my new kitchen. East-facing this time, fresh view, fresh start. Same city, whole new life. Better in every way I didn't know I needed. That day in the boardroom, it cracked everything wide open. But what came after? That was the rebuild. Daniel terminated the same afternoon. Ethics violations don't sit well with public companies, especially when your affair hits the radar during a leadership meeting. Harper quietly reassigned to a different department, then restructured out 3 months later, disappeared from the company like she'd never existed. The divorce? Finalized in record time. His lawyer practically begged him to sign what I wanted, because I had receipts, and they knew it. I sold the waterfront condo, too many ghosts in those walls, and bought a craftsman-style home in a neighborhood I'd always loved. One Daniel had once called not upscale enough. I call it peace. I planted a garden, adopted a scrappy rescue dog named Max, who barked at leaves and snored louder than a grown man. And slowly, I began reclaiming all the corners of my life that had been shrunk to make space for Daniel's ego and constant emotional appetite. My mother's passing left a hollow ache that never fully closed. But in the garden, I found her again. I'd catch myself whispering to the wind while trimming roses or yanking out stubborn weeds. "You were right about him, Mom," I'd say quietly, dirt under my nails, sun on my back. "You saw it, even when I didn't." She never trashed Daniel to my face, but she didn't need to. The way her jaw tensed when he scrolled through his phone during dinners, the way her eyes dimmed every time he casually dismissed me mid-sentence. She knew, the way mothers always do. Career-wise, I soared. Turns out, publicly torching a cheating husband and holding your ground in a boardroom earns a woman a reputation. Companies started calling, asking me to consult on ethics compliance, harassment protocol, corporate culture shifts. One CEO called me the attorney who actually walks the walk. I leaned into it. I found purpose in helping other women build environments where predators like Daniel couldn't thrive in the shadows. And the dream I thought I'd buried with our marriage, motherhood, I decided to chase it on my terms. No conditions, no contracts, no husband weighing down the experience with half-hearted affection. I was in the early stages of adoption, hopeful, nervous, and completely lit up by the idea of becoming a mom. A real one who didn't need anyone else's permission. My phone buzzed, calendar notification, lunch with Janet, my private investigator turned ride or die. We met once a month now, swapping war stories, catching up on case gossip, and laughing like we'd been friends forever. As I grabbed my purse and headed for the door, I paused at the little frame on my entryway table. A simple quote, etched in glass, custom-made the week my divorce was finalized. "Sometimes the heaviest things we carry are the stories we never tell." Not anymore. I carried mine out into the open and set it the hell down. I told my story, loudly, publicly, unapologetically. And in doing so, I let go of a weight I didn't even realize I'd been hauling around for years. The weight of everyone else's expectations. That I'd be graceful in betrayal. That I'd cry quietly in the shadows, swallow the hurt, and keep the peace so he wouldn't have to face the consequences of blowing up our life. That I'd be dignified, poised, silent. Screw that. As I stepped out into the crisp fall air, the leaves crunching underfoot, I felt something close to peace. Not the kind you fake, the kind that feels earned. My phone buzzed in my coat pocket. Unknown number. "Saw Daniel at Capitol Grill last night with some girl who couldn't be older than 25. Some things never change." I recognized the tone immediately. An old neighbor. The type who always had the tea but never spilled it unless asked. I paused. Not out of hurt or longing, but pity. Not for Daniel. He was getting exactly what he'd earned. But for her. The new girl. The next name in a cycle of rinse, repeat, ruin. I typed back, "I hope she delivers his bag somewhere even more public than I did." Then I hit delete, tossed the phone in my purse, and drove to meet Janet. Because Daniel's ongoing mess, that wasn't my story anymore. I'd closed that book, slammed it shut. Now I was writing something new, one where I wasn't the supporting character in someone else's chaos. Over lunch, Janet raised her glass. To two women who refuse to be footnotes in their own lives. I clinked mine against hers, grinning. And to suitcases delivered exactly where they belong. We laughed, really laughed. And in that moment, something final clicked into place. What had once felt like public humiliation had evolved into something sharper, stronger. Freedom. Not the kind that tiptoes around people's feelings, the kind that comes from standing tall in your truth, no matter how uncomfortable it makes others. That afternoon, I walked through my garden, checking on the last stubborn dahlias that refused to die with the season. My hands brushed over the petals, and I found myself thinking of that day in the boardroom, how scared I'd been, under all that polish and poise, how I didn't know what would come next. If I could go back, lean in, and whisper something to that woman with shaking hands and fire in her chest, I'd tell her this: this isn't the end of your story. It's the beginning of a better one. And it was. It absolutely was.